Everybody, it's Bailey Justin 12 here, Bailey Justin 5672, whatever the heck number it is. And instead of doing the usual, I've got a little something special for you. So this week, we're going to talk about copying, tracing, references, all of that different stuff. And we're going to talk about the cons and the pros, or the pros and the cons of all three of them. So there is stealing art, just so that you can understand how they did things, which is copying in a way, but you're literally copying exactly what they did to try and understand how they did it to get the effects that they did. There is taking references and turning them into your own style, so recreating references, and then there's just using a reference. So instead of doing a whole how-to, blah, 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 I'm just going to hit play on these videos, talk about whatever I see myself doing, and try and explain to you the process that I did to create each of the images. So we've got three. This one right here is copying / stealing. This is from Thomana. He is on Twitter. He's on DeviantArt. I love his work. I love the way he does his lines. I love the way he colors. So the way he does his lines as thick as he does, the way he does basic colors and yet is able to create all these different strong tones, the way he color codes and everything. And also because he's a fan of Milan and Link, who is my couple as well. So, you know, we've got a bond there as well. But Thomana is an amazing artist that has commissions available that you should totally check out on Twitter. I'm definitely going to link his stuff in the bio. But here we go. This should only take, one take on recording all of this, because this should be pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. So to start off, this is the original. There's Thomana right there. I do some blocking in to understand where everything is, because I was going to try and do a different style of tracing to start with, but I decided against it. I decided I was going to do the full-on copying for his style, because he has way less lines and colors that I would have to recreate if I did him instead of somebody else. So here you can see me redlining everything of his, all of his line work, all of his blacks. And again, the pro of doing this is that you can really try and understand all the effort that these people put through, the techniques that they use to create the exact same image. You can learn some different things that you never tried before. For instance, Thomana does a little bit of airbrushing on everything he colors. He does an airbrush of a light and a dark, and then he also does a basic shade without doing a highlight, and it looks really good. And I think he also, I wasn't able to figure out why he put this white line that he did on Link's neck, why he put that there, but I think it was just so that he could, I don't know, to be completely honest with you. I still have not figured that out. Because he white-lined the outline, which is totally normal, but he also white-lined the other part. As you can see, though, we're going on to the hands, we're going on to the eyes, we're redlining literally everything. We forgot the nose, or maybe we didn't. I can't tell, because it's, it's kind of red. But we're redlining everything. We're filling it all in with the paint bucket tool. We're adding a couple lines here and there because it just doesn't make sense. Thomana's art style is amazing, but he leaves a couple tangents that I wouldn't be able to do without coloring in some way, shape, or form. He's got a lot of spaces that are super tiny that need to have color that he doesn't color at all, even with his super thick line art. But that's really the pro of doing this, is that you can really understand how the artist does the art that they do. You can understand how they did the lines. You can see anatomy. You can understand the way that they made the face shape. You can do a different way of making eyes. And it's really useful when you get into the coloring step. That's when this technique works the best, is when you do coloring, because of the fact that you can really learn how they cause some of the effects. And another great thing about this technique is if you're just starting out with art, this is exactly what you want to do to build your confidence. You want to go onto a digital piece that's somewhat simple. You want to take the line work and copy it exactly. You want to copy and paste. You want to do all of that different stuff so that you can get the exact same image and see that with enough practice, you can create something like the people that you idolize or that you really enjoy, or art that you really like. You know, I did the face in the blushies with the weird dot on them that I never do. I did all kinds of different stuff that I'm not used to, that actually I've added to my art style now because I like how it looks at the end. And you'll learn those things. So it's really a great step if you're just starting out, if you've barely ever touched a pencil, to just find a piece that you love more than anything and recreate it. Just trace right over it and try and do your best. And then when you get to the coloring stage, really try and understand how they did those colors. And I promise you, it will level up your art. And it's not only beginners that need to do this, though. This is also for intermediate and experts, everybody else. You can learn so much by watching time lapses and copying other people's art and just making the exact same thing. No, you can't have that. That's a coin. You'll eat that and that will get bad. Here you can see I'm doing the background real quick. Getting it all pretty. All that good stuff. But again, I just want to really emphasize that, you know, when you have art block, the best way to handle that is to find a piece that you absolutely love and recreate it. That's the best way that you can handle that. The most constructive way you can handle that. But that's it for that part. That was me recreating the piece. As you can see at the beginning, I will pause it for 1 second and I'll show it to you again. So that's my piece. And that's the original. Let me see if I can get a still shot before it's ever been touched. No, I can't. Oh well. That's fine. So next we're going to talk about animatizing or drawing something that you see in your style, in your way, trying to recreate it by pasting a little bit, but also by using the artistic talent, the artistic level that you have. So here we've got an image that I found on iFunny forever ago, and you can see that I'm basically outlining, I'm tracing the key features, locations, because I'm really trying for realism here. You can see that I'm taking the fingers and making guidelines for them. And this stage is really good when you're trying to understand more of the form. And this is more recreation of art than it is copying. Because although it's me using this thing as a reference and I'm tracing some parts, there's also a lot of parts that I have to figure out where the line goes, because this is a real picture. So this is a higher level of copying, but not considered reference because of the fact that I am literally doing the exact same picture, just using line work and everything of that nature. So it's kind of like the anime filter on Snapchat and all that different stuff. But as you can see, I'm doing the hair. I've already got the face shape perfectly figured out. I changed the lips and the mouth just a little bit because I thought it would look nicer. I changed the fingers a little bit because I thought it would look more interesting that way. But a lot of it's the same too. You know, I added a couple hair strands here and there. I really detailed the hair compared to how it was in the photo. I tried to, make sense of the image and everything and the way that it was shown. You can see here that I had a tangent there, so I fixed that. It's just a lot of figuring out for this line art. It's kind of like when you see a comic book image, or not a comic. Oh crud! I can't remember. What's it called? Coloring book image. It's like those kind of lines. That's what you're trying to work on here. When you're doing this, I'm gonna pause it for a second. When you're doing, color it in so I can show you. When you're doing this level, you want to really work on your line art and understanding the shapes of everything and how everything works. This isn't about just recreating the photo. This is being able to put this into your library of mental images so that you can come back later and use it as a reference for yourself. So I learned a couple things doing this one as well. This is my first time ever drawing truly curly, wavy hair. Specifically, this is also my first time ever doing an actual portrait, because I never really did this style of referencing. I did more of the first style and the second and the third style that I'm going to show you. I didn't really do this turning it into a line art, a real image into a line art. But if you do that, you're going to learn a lot about how things actually work and how things are shaped and things of that nature. There was a little bit of tracing, but that hair, I did that all on my own. There was nothing that I followed the movement, but all those lines are my own idea. All these folds that I have here on this sweater, that's all mine as well. The way I did her eyebrows is different. What you saw me doing right there was that your face is broken up into 3 different parts when it's colored. You've got green, red, and then blue or yellow. I can't remember which one it is. I've just started using it recently. I've got to recheck what it was. You can see you can see that I added some blush and some basic shading. I used a reddish color I used a reddish instead of just using, moved over to the hue so that it looks a little more human-like. I'm pretty sure I'm going to lower the redness of the face just a little bit, but I might not. You can see me airbrushing the hair because that's how the image showed it. Then you can see me also doing some shading on the corners. We'll do a shading lesson later on. We do a couple highlights, all the basic, interesting stuff. But really, that's not what this is about. This wasn't about as much coloring as this was understanding the shapes. It's great that I can color like this, and there's definitely room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. Any artist that tells you they're happy with where they are and they don't want to learn anything new is not an artist at heart, because there's always room for improvement. An artist is never satisfied with what they come up with. So as we continue going, I add a little bit of a red hue to it. I add the collar for the sweater. Again, I had to add all this different stuff because in realism there wasn't all this different stuff. I add some highlights for the material to try and get the texture. I actually added a filter of noise at a certain level. And then here I'm doing a quick lighting so that it makes sense of how I shaded the hair. And then it was a Christmas scene, but I didn't want to do all that, so I just did a couple lightings in the back. This was when the line art accidentally got changed the color, but I actually didn't want it that way. I wanted the blacks. I know that doesn't make the most sense, and it looked a little nicer when it wasn't, but I like it with the blacks just because I want it to, I just like it with the blacks. I can't really explain it more than that. I also did some color dodging on the eyes and some other things of that nature, but that's all stuff we're going to learn. This is just about the pros and cons. And so just to go over real quick, for this one, the pros and the cons are pro, you're going to learn a lot of different stuff that you've never learned. You're going to do line art that you didn't think you could do. You're going to recreate something that you love, and you're going to get the confidence to know that you can do that, and you're going to go, your confidence is going to go high, your line art skills are going to increase, everything's going to go get better. You're going to see how they do their lines and how they end in a taper or how they don't end in a taper. You're going to see how they do smooth lines versus hard lines, all this different stuff. You're going to see your curves and your straights. He's got them too. He's a lot more curves without straights, but he has some straights in there as well. And then with this one, And the con of this is you should not upload. You should not be uploading. You should not be uploading the first style. You should not upload it unless you have a very clear in the description thing that says this was not my piece. I recreated it. You don't want to do AI art or any of that crap where they decide to try and pretend that something that wasn't theirs is theirs. Now, for the second style, the bonus and the perspective and all that different stuff is really good for learning the concepts, the basis of where parts of the body are, how things move. You know, I added a lot of the fabric folds and everything of that nature because of the fact that it wasn't that many in that photo. But if you didn't want to add those, you didn't have to, and you could have left it like that. It's all about, you know, noticing these things in realism because it's a still frame and trying to transfer as much of it over into your style as you can. It's a really great stepping stone that I did not do nearly enough of when I was starting. Like I said, that was my first ever like fully realistic portrait without like that. And then the final one is just reference. This is just a reference. This is just a quick time lapse of me drawing something. And it's just a reference. So we're going to show the two different ways. So you can try and do a reference where you create a basic outline on the body and everything of that nature. And then you use your anatomical knowledge to, you know, fully create it, which did not work for me. I'm not very happy with the results. So I came back in again, and this time I highlighted the key areas, created the basic shapes, and then I created the body off of that stuff and a little bit of my basic knowledge. And I was a lot happier with that. But as you can see, I'm not tracing any of the picture like we did in the first example. This is me creating a nice silhouette and then coming in later. And here I am redoing all the lines for the body, changing a couple areas. Oh, the baby fell. Changing the areas, you know, putting the butt cheeks, changing the thickness of the leg because I wasn't happy with how thick it was. A lot of different stuff. You see me adding the tails and the ears because this is a piece I was doing as part of the like, follow, and retweet thing on Twitter forever ago that I did that I never uploaded. So I'm just continually always trying to remake these pieces to make up for it. You see me, you know, the way I like to do my style is I like to get everything blocked in nice and big and then come in again afterwards and really do the line art, really get the details, add things where they need to be, take out things where they don't need to be. So here you can just see me doing the face, all that different stuff. But the real point I'm trying to make here is that you can see that the original image is no longer here. After I got the body shape the way I wanted, it's gone. It's in the little reference window up at the top right, so I can take a look whenever I'm not sure of anything. But it didn't have clothes on, so I had to do the clothes off of other references and or my imagination. For this one, I just did it off my imagination and understanding of clothing. But as you can see, all of this different stuff was done out of imagination. So we used that picture as a quick reference to get the body type and the body shape and the pose and everything of that nature that we wanted. And then after that, oh, there's the baby. And then after we did that, we just decided that we were going to do the drawing. We took the character into consideration, added the parts that needed to be added, did all of that different stuff. Here you can see me adding the tail and some basic stuff of that nature. I do the socks. I wasn't happy with the feet. You'll see later actually trying to thin them out because it feels like they've got like cankles, and I wasn't very happy with that. I might have already fixed it. No, I didn't. It's still not fully there yet. I add the hair. We do some basic coloring. And then, you know, from learning from Thomana when I was doing his stuff, I learned about that whole airbrushing thing, and I try that for myself after I put in these flats real quick. And I was actually pretty happy with it. I didn't think the airbrushing thing was going to work as well as it did, but it actually did. Normally, I haven't used the airbrush in my style almost at all. And, you know, that was foolish because as you can see right here with the skin, the airbrush works wonders. You know, you can learn a lot from doing that airbrush. It's useful. You know, I used to use the smudge tool to get my lines to be a little softer the way I wanted them. But now I'm just using the airbrush and it works nice. So, you know, that's that whole thing where you go back to those pieces, you learn these different styles, and you learn new tools and things that you've never used before. You know, use time lapses, ask artists questions. All of that stuff is really going to help you level up. You know, I worked really hard to make all 3 of these drawings for you guys so that we could have a good video this week, because I really want you guys to learn that using reference is a great way to create images, but that's not where you're going to learn the most. Where you're going to learn the most is when you're doing those realism to your style drawings, and you're going to learn techniques and coloring ways with the copying other people's stuff. I love art, and I would recommend it to anybody because you can do it at any level. But when it comes to using references and things of that nature, you have to understand a little bit of the anatomy before you're going to be able to create those pictures. So what you should do is grab some skeleton or grab some bones and everything of that nature. You don't need to learn the names for anything. You just need to understand where things go. And then you're going to be pretty much set. But I hope that it wasn't just me rambling and that this video was helpful for you. And have an absolutely fantastic day.